Peace, family. My name is Vicky Dillard, and thank you so much for tuning in to African Diaspora News Channel. Please make sure you give us a big thumbs up and share the broadcast. Thank you so very much. Family, I have been doing coverage of some of the speeches that I had the high privilege to watch during this past UNGA 78, which of course stands for the United Nations General Assembly. I absolutely was smitten, I must say, by many of the Black leaders, African leaders, and even some of the island melanated leaders, the Caribbean melanated leaders that just came with such a high energy and presence of the divine. Such was the foreign minister of Mali, Mr. Diop. Watch this brief clip.
The interference of certain powers who continue to facilitate the criminal activities of terrorist armed groups in Mali and in the Sahel. I wish to recall that on the 15th of August 2022, the government of Mali had alerted the United Nations Security Council to hostile acts and aggressions by France. Rather than ceasing such actions, this country, a permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations, continues with full impunity its destabilizing maneuvers in Mali and the Sahel.
Did you hear what he revealed during that speech? He stated that in August of 2022, they reported to the UN Security Council hostile acts of aggression by France. He says France, who's a permanent member of the UN. And he said instead of France ceasing and desisting, they intensified such hostile acts. Family, this is the reason why, unfortunately, we see certain mainstream media lose credibility among the people, because the average person around the world, and certainly here in the United States of America, would not have been informed of that. This is the power of alternative Black grassroots media such as this network. Now, the world loves to call them rebels, junta leaders, and even when I use that word, is just because so that you will understand the opposition, but I always make sure to, not the opposition, but to always make sure that you understand that it's really a revolution, but I use a term that obviously is well known, but I always like to bring clarity to that. They don't want us to know these things that are happening. And the fact that someone like France is a permanent member and they were reported to have been sponsoring terrorist acts, what does that tell you? Some of it even asking questions, should there be a warrant out for his arrest? Are these war crimes? How is it that folks like he, George W. Bush, Rumsfeld, and others that were responsible for the deletion of mass societies, the wasting of millions and trillions of dollars, can get away with unaliving and taking the lives of people? But when you have folks like those in Mali that are rising up to throw off the chains of the colonialists, the bloodsuckers of their land, you say all manner of evil against them. Let me tell you something. This is the reason why the UN is also losing credibility. And this is the reason why it's such a welcome for the inclusion of more African nations in certain blocks like BRICS. The changes we're seeing even in G20. Certainly the reforms they're calling for in the AU, the African Union. But also, when you hear the leaders come forward and call these things out in the General Assembly, this is the opportunity for us to get a world report that we would not otherwise get. Talk black to me, somebody. So what does that tell you? It's no wonder, United Nations, you're losing influence. It's no wonder these other blocks are gaining influence and power and greater legitimacy because you have failed to be what you were supposed to be. The so-called premier world body of the UN is not supposed to be hijacked by the United States and France and other Western nations. That's not how that's supposed to work. And it's precisely why, as I keep saying, there's a changing of the guards, and then there's a changing of the gods and the changing of the goddesses. Meaning that there's not only a change on earth, but there's a change in this unseen realm. I teach these principles, and it is no wonder we're seeing these shifts because we're beginning to change. And our spiritual power is the secret to our success. It is a thing that puts the super on our natural. If you want to learn these principles and more, join my email list at VickiPlanet.com so that you can be alerted about my upcoming elite mastermind courses. That's VickiPlanet.com. That's VickiPlanet.com. I can't wait to see you again.